Hello world, hello everyone. Here we are with a new live, this time about art. Traditional and modern art. Traditional modern art has been classified, organized. Hello everyone. Here we are with a new live. I was talking about the topic of this live, art. Traditionally, art, modern art, but also hello Selene, but also modern art has been organized, separated, and studied, discussed by time period and movement. We won't be doing that today. We will be talk about identities, artistic identities, how they create art, and how they interact with their environment. Especially in particular, we are going to talk about heritage, how these identities build up in a sociocultural environment and where they come from. So we have our guest online, and I'm going to invite her and I'm going to ask her to use. Hello, Gabby. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Here we are with a new live about art. Hello, Sven.
Sorry about that. Hi.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, ciao Diana e Stefano. I was introducing the topic of this evening because I was telling everybody that traditionally art and modern art has been studied and discussed, separating, classifying art by times and movement. For the ones who knows me, know that I don't like categories. I like to look at the identities that create art, to look at artists and to see how this identity interact with their environment, with the environment in which they belong. And this is what we are going to talk about today. Artistic identities, how they emerge, how they form, how do they express them, and how do they interact with their environment, with their heritage, because heritage is a very important part of an identity.
Absolutely, Lydia. Thank you for hosting this. I think that this topic is extremely to any artist from a soulful perspective.
Yes.
I think that when we are doing our work, whether it's sculpture or photography, you're putting our whole selves into it. And
Yes.
so to understand the heritage of the artist is to, in some ways, understand a good portion of the totality of the artist. Because we are
Yes.
human beings and we are here on this earth to express ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for taking part. It's me, right? Thank you for taking part to this live, because when I looked at your art, I found that it was incredibly interesting, and your style and the way you use color. And this is where I want to start. This is where I want to start from, asking you to introduce yourself. When did you start painting? In particular, I want to ask you, when did you start painting and why?
Okay. I'm going to be quite frank here, Lydia, because it's only right for all the wonderful artists out there that are out there, and maybe my story will inspire them to be utterly honest in their work, which I'm sure they are already. I started painting later in life. I had a midlife crisis at around the age of 40-ish. I had a breakdown of sorts because my sense of self had not been completely materialized. I was living a good life with family and friends and my career, but I wasn't an artist. And when you get to a certain point in your life, you want to be fully realize your sense of self, or else you're going to feel empty.
Yes.
And I did. And that emptiness also worked as a sense of depression. And I ended up finding an incredibly wonderful therapist who suggested that I paint. And it was something that I had never considered doing because I lived in New York City for many years. And I had access to some of the most magnificent museums in the world in New York. So anytime I looked at art, it was already hanging on a wall, in a gallery, uh, you know, a source of magnificence. And I felt like I can't do that. There's no way I can do that. I held it in such high esteem, art. I could only look at it and absorb it. So I spent most of my life, my early life, looking and absorbing and studying art and other things too, which I'll go into in a little while. And when I started painting, it was a psychological and an emotional explosion. It was an explosion of my psychology, and it hasn't stopped. And I can say now that a lot of the tortured sense of self that I had has diminished a lot because I found creativity and I embraced it.
Art as therapy then, and it's a very common things because the last live that I made was with three photographers, and I found out that not just them, but a lot of people use art, visive art, to express themselves, but also as a therapy, to look at his interior self and to express it outside. And all these photographers use self-portrait, the self-portrait technique to express this identity.
Yes, Lydia. And I wanted to tell you that for many years, from many years ago, I was obsessed with making self-portraits. I made so many self-portraits, and I think I was trying to find myself. I was trying to recreate myself. And that is why I like to call myself the mad scientist of the canvas. Because I feel, Lydia, like I am both the creator and the Frankenstein that I created. I am both. I am the creator and I am the glorious monster that I recreated for myself. And I love
happens
it.
a lot with self-portrait because it's like to stand in front of a mirror, and with the picture you can, with the photography you can modify this image. Yes, you can. There are some self-portraits that are very interesting, but with paintings, you can really recreate your interiority, expressing on the canvas. And I really love the way you do. And it's very common. It's very common too. Let's think about Frida Kahlo. Everyone talks about Frida. Frida spent her whole life making this incredibly strong and communicating self-portrait. And she went through a lot of crises in her life. And she found paintings, art, as a way to express herself and this struggle, in the world. Yes.
Yes, yes. It is a journey of salvation. I always felt that painting should be, for me, it's always been a perilous journey of self-discovery. That is, I will not paint anything less than that for myself. I don't recommend that for everybody, but for me, I that is how I have worked always. And now that I'm older, an older woman, and I am coming into myself a lot, understanding myself, I am branching out. I don't feel the need to do so many self-portraits anymore. Now I'm branching out into other areas, other themes in my work, like death and mortality, um, sexual torments and Christianity.
This is very interesting because it's part of our background. If we talk about heritage and image that are part of this cultural background, heritage, there is an iconography very specific on these themes that is very common to find about death, about mortality, about sexuality. And I think that is very interesting that you are trying to express this thematic that are part of human life, that are part of every human beings. And maybe we don't reflect a lot on this thematic, on these topics, even if they are part of our life.
Yes, I reflect on it daily. That is the difference. It's like I am, the philosophy of death and mortality is very dear to my heart. I'm very afraid of it. I don't glorify it. I said that in a different show that I was in. I am not making love to death. It is, I'm not gothic and I'm not enjoying it. I'm actually in a battle with it. And I'm trying to, in some anti-heroic way, trying to conquer it. I'm trying to
Yes.
conquer it, and it can never be conquered. Never. So I can only leave um, respect for it. And but there's no adoration in my work for death. None.
I've seen that you have a very specific style. In some way, it reminds me of sculpture. I don't know why, but I feel like there is a sense of 3D when I look at your works, and there is yes, a plastic feelings when I see how you use color on your canvas. How would you describe this style? Because I see that
Well,
you and
yes, I don't like categories, but I think if I have to fall into a category, it would be expressionist. My work is very raw, and I like a little depravity in my work. I am very faithful to my psychology, my psyche, and so I really am very faithful to the themes in my work. And my work has a little bit of crudity. It's very crude. It's very raw because I think human nature
there is an
is
hashtag on
brutal.
Instagram that is brute art, and I use it too because I made some
Yeah,
works that are like brutal, like I use these strong colors and also strong
yeah.
lines, and not delicate, and I love it. This is what I loved about your work. They're very strong. They transmit
I,
strong feelings.
yes, I would say that it has a deliberate crudity, my work. I don't like softness. I just don't. I never have. I think my life has been tortured enough that I like to display the roughness of existence. But I wanted to say, Lydia, that if I had to make a new classification, I would call my work existentialist because it's existentialist painting more than expressionistic. I was very influenced by literature in my life. My father was a very philosophical and learned man, very academic, learned man, and he introduced me to great existentialist literature like Kafka and Beckett and Selene, Dostoevsky, and I live my life in the frame of mind of existentialism, which can be depressing, but that's how I did. And so when I started to paint, of course, I gravitated to some of the great painters that shared some of my sensibilities, like George Grosz for the brutality of war. And I love Munch because he reminds us that
Yeah.
we are finite and mortal.
Yes, I think
I
that
love,
that's a common trait in modern and contemporary art, the existentialism. Artists don't follow canons, they follow their own canons and they put a lot of themselves into art. And you find,
yeah,
yes,
I love, I'm in love with Kirchner because Kirchner was an artist that used incredible macabre and powerful colors for faces. So he is my example, and I love the sensuality and the sexual depravity of Egon Schiele.
and still, when I looked for the first time at your works, I couldn't not think about Latino America because I talked about Frida, her own use of colors, and this incredibly use of colors in Latin American art because there are many Latin American artists who are not very well known because Latin American culture is not very well known still in Europe, overall in Europe. But there are many, many interesting artists who made an interesting path, especially in the research about color.
Yes, I love Frida Kahlo, and I went all the way to Mexico City simply to visit her house, her blue house.
Oh,
And
wow.
I saw her little bed where she created a universe of beauty and suffering in that little bed. And I saw her wheelchair, her paintbrushes, and just remarkable, remarkable artist.
And Mexican
Latin
culture is very
America,
interesting. Mexican culture is very interesting about the iconography of death because they have many representation of death, female representation, like Santa Muerte,
yes,
La Calaca. It's very interesting. It's very interesting because
they
when I
are,
looked at your work, I found this theme of death and you, in your last interview that I've seen, and for the people who are following this interview, you can find Selene's last interview on their Instagram page. On their Instagram page, you can find the link.
yes,
And
just copy
you,
paste.
yes, you talk about this image of death that you represented in your works, that you try to represent death as a woman.
Yes,
And that's
yes, I
very
did.
interesting too.
Yeah, you know, I've never been able to get away from the image of the skull. It's an iconic image. I don't know how to represent death without a skull. In my case, when I lost a loved one, and I know people here have, I'm sure, have lost somebody they love too. Death for me felt like a vast, empty, black landscape. I had no way to depict it. So I always tell people I'm stuck with the skull. But I have seen the skull always portrayed in a very masculine, domineering figure. And Lydia, I have a lot of issues with the women in my life. And I've seen very powerful women in my life, both creatively and damaging. And I thought to myself, let me try to make death as a queen. And that's what I did. I thought if, the feminine power can give life, it can also take it away. And I know that that fear of woman is very common in many cultures around the
Yes,
world, especially with their idea of the power of menstruation and the power of, female sexuality is very threatening in this world sometimes.
yes,
So I said, I think death could be a woman. She gives life and she can take it away.
Yeah, that's interesting because in traditional culture, that was a woman. In Greek culture, in Mexican, Latin American cultures, traditional culture, woman was represented like a woman. So I found it even more interesting. And let's go to your background, to your cultural background, because we are talking about something which is related about Latino America, and there is something of you which belongs to Latin America, but not only, because like we have discussed about, you have a very interesting cultural background.
Yes, I do. I do.
And I wanted, yes, I wanted to ask you which one is this background and how it did influence you and your art?
Well, my parents were very radical, independent-minded people. And my father was Jewish American. And my mother is Catholic, Peruvian Catholic. So they married when it was very uncommon for people to mix cultures and religions,
I
especially
think that
religions.
still it is. I think that still it is.
Okay, and they had a tumultuous, tempestuous relationship. They married each other, then they divorced each other, then they married each other again, and then they divorced each other again. So they had a very dramatic life together. And in some of those years, I moved to Peru in my adolescent years with my mother. And there, it was amazing. I saw the great beauty of Peru. I moved to Lima, Peru. And I saw the incredible, strange beauty of the landscape in Peru. They have a desert and they have the jungle, the Amazonian jungles, and they also have the coast, beautiful Pacific coastline.
Yes, it's incredible. For the ones who never visited Peru, you must, because unlike Argentina, who was colonized and was crossed by a lot of Occidental people, Peru preserved its aspect and even its language. There are a lot of people who still speak native language. It's not like this in Argentina anymore because, or Brazil, because in Brazil and Argentina, native are very persecuted by government.
Yeah. Peru has its political turmoil too, but when I was living there, it was, I had lived a very conventional, normal life in the United States, and I was hurled into a land of absolute magic realism. There were skulls everywhere. They have pre-Columbian archaeological skulls everywhere, and they even have a custom in Peru of having skulls in their homes as a way of protecting people from thievery, from theft, from robbers. And so I went to a lot of different homes, and there was a natural skull, taking care of the homes. So the whole imagery of skulls became ingrained in my mind very early in life. And Catholicism too. My parents were my father was an atheist, and my mother was not a devout Catholic, but living there, I kind of joined Catholicism for a while, and it has extraordinary imagery of tortured saints and of Jesus on the cross, incredible artwork, and incredible spiritual fervor, which made me feel very intense. And it made me feel actually very intense and damaged because of their concept of original sin and the idea that you have to confess sins to some priest.
Something that everyone who grew up in a Catholic family
has
come across with the concept of sin and guilty. The guilty is a concept that is very strong in Catholic Christian culture.
And you know what? Lydia? I thought that being half Jewish would lead me to feel a lot of guilt. But no, Catholicism is the expert on sense of guilt.
Yes, it's true. And I think that traditional Peruvian culture, Latin American and traditional culture as a more balanced way to perceive life and death. Their way to, like you said, to have a skull, to have even a skull like positive things in a house means that they had not this incredibly fear of death that as that have Occidentals. Occidentals have a great fear of death. They are not more acquaintance to the concept of death and even to the concept of life.
Yeah, and the thing is that people in other parts of the world are more comfortable with that than in the United States. We have separated ourselves from an understanding of it. We don't even experience it. I want to say that at least, 500,000 people have passed away from COVID in the United States. We have hardly even thought about it or made any kind of memorials to the dead. And in Peru, as in Mexico, I think Mexico are the real, experts at it. Death is an everyday part of life.
Yes.
And they honor their ancestors. They go to cemeteries for the Day of the Dead, and they bring flowers and food and music and drink, and they sit there. They picnic there. Here in the United States, the American sense of death is so removed and cold. We bring flowers to a grave, and that's it, and then we leave. There's not that sense of familiarity with death. There's not that sense of familiarity. I mean, my goodness, the Mexicans can dance and drink with images of death. We cannot do that here in the United States. And it's sad because I think in medieval times, the memento mori was on people's desks, at least intellectuals. And it was, when you think of death, you're reminded of how incredibly luminous life is, how incredibly beautiful life is, and that every day is a gift. I don't waste a single day anymore because I know my life is finite now, and I'm older now, and I have a finite sense of how long I have to continue painting. I don't waste a day.
And going back to this incredibly heritage, even iconographically talking, with this image, with this strong image which belongs to Latino American culture. Did you ever felt, because when we talked about your art, I told you that when I looked at your painting, I immediately talked about Latin American culture, Latin American images. Did you ever felt like you were influenced by this image?
Yes. Obviously, I was influenced by all the by the Inca and pre-Columbian cultural artifacts and archaeology. But I have to tell you, being half of anything is not a good thing sometimes. I felt like I was half Peruvian, half American, half Jewish, half Catholic, half accepted. And everybody's been very kind to me, my family. So it wasn't because of them, but I felt like an outsider.
Yes, we talked about this sensation, and I think that it's even more common if you are an artist, because many artists feel like being an outsider inside society.
Yes, I never felt a part of anything, even if people were accepting me, and they were. But still, you know who you are, you know your heritage, you know how much you are of anything. And I felt like an outsider always looking in, examining, studying what to do to become a part of something. And I appreciate it now. It tortured me when I was younger. It made me feel lonely and isolated. But I appreciate it now, Lydia, because it gave me the artist's vision. An artist is an outsider usually, and an artist looks into the world, looks into the environment. And I couldn't have asked for a more trained vision, than living a life as an outsider for art.
Yes, I think that is very important because in the beginning I was talking about how an artist can interact with the environment in which he grew up, in which he live, but it's even more important for the artist to get outside this environment to observe it, because otherwise I don't think that art will be as interesting as it is if the artist will be always immersed in this environment in which she lives, because nowadays life is so fast that you don't have even the time to think about yourself. So I think that it's very important for an artist maybe to be like an outsider and to have the time to think about himself, to think about the world that surrounds himself.
Yeah, art for me is a solitary journey. When I'm painting, nobody is invited. I don't invite anybody in. Um, I worry about afterwards if people will like my work or not, but when I'm painting, it's just me. And that solitariness is very important in art. To be comfortable alone is important. And yes, anything that I did in my childhood in Peru was always felt like I was a little bit on the outside. And I couldn't quite I didn't feel completely accepted, but I repeat, people were very kind to me. My family was very kind. I made good friends there. And in my American life, also people have been kind to me. I just felt, like an outsider looking in. And I wonder sometimes if you're so immersed in your own culture and you can't see outside of it, I'm not sure you can be a good critical observer of the world.
Yes, I think
Almost like
that
that.
you're right. Yes, I think you're right. Personally, I use art to pose question to reality. But to pose this question, I think that it's important to take a step back and to observe this reality you have in front of. For example, my photography project of documentary photography about
Yes.
marginality, it didn't come from a frenetic life to be fully immersed. No, when I was fully immersed in my life, in everyday life, I didn't even thought about starting taking photograph of these people. I've told many people that I didn't even see these people who live in the street. I didn't even see any more of them. So it means that when you are so fully immersed in your everyday life, you don't even have, you
Can't
don't
see.
even see any more things that are in front of you every day. So it's very important to
And
have
Lydia, yes.
this space.
And Lydia, I have no knowledge of anything mystical, okay? But I have like a sense, I just kind of I feel like what is a human being, especially an artist, other than a reflection for the divine element, a reflection for the divine energy to see itself. And so maybe, maybe the divine element is an outsider too, and needs our realization to see itself. You know, it could be some kind of what was it, like some kind of cosmic connection, the outsider might actually be the divine element that allows, the metaphysical to see itself. I don't know.
Yes, it's very interesting, this concept. And I like the word connection because it's true that we need to take a step back to look at the outside, but then we need, once we have seen what we wanted to see, to get back in the
Yes.
reality and take connection to this reality. Because I think
Yes.
that artists can really have a very powerful instrument to influence the reality. I like the way arts, especially contemporary arts, interact with society. It's not like in other times. I think that nowadays arts really is an instrument that has the power to influence people opinions. Maybe because
Yes.
we use image, maybe because many type of art use image, and image is a language that everyone can understand.
Yes. I think that art is prolific now, especially with Instagram. It's amazing. I think people are still very moved by images, and they're super important even for political work. In the United States, a lot of the movement here with the women's movement and other protest marches were all influenced by a lot of the work of Shepard Fairey. And I went to a lot of marches, and I took so many incredible photographs of the signs and the posters that people made for these
Yes.
marches. Everyone was expressing themselves in the millions.
I've
Me
seen
too.
it. I've seen it in Argentina. There they are super creatives and march in their way to protest. They created a new type of art, a new type of
Yes, there
art.
was a proliferation of art in the United
Yes.
States, you know? It was amazing. When I went to these marches, of course, I was passionate about the different subjects that were going on. I was passionate about getting rid of Trump, and I was passionate about all the different things we marched for, Black Lives Matter and women's rights and all of that. But I couldn't stop looking at all the incredible art, and I found myself running after every person that made
Yeah, I think that it's very beautiful, these things that art is not only a way to pose question to reality, but to pose question to ourselves.
Yes.
And this is a point of connection between our identity and the reality that surrounds us. Art can be a point
It
of
connected.
connection and can be also a way, an instrument to change the environment that surrounds us.
It
To
really is
express,
true. Art
to
was used
express
for change.
ourselves.
Yeah, art in the United States has been used for change. I never saw it so powerful. I never saw art so powerful as when people were using it to make a better world. And I want to say something though about ancient work, because when I went to Mexico, I saw the sculptures of the Maya and Aztec Indians, and it was terrifying. And my jaw dropped. Literally, I'd never seen anything so powerful. And I think it has to do that art was, back then, it wasn't art for galleries, and it wasn't art for display for somebody to buy. It was a spiritual connection to their gods. It
Yes.
was art was not art. It was a communication that linked people to the divine. It was a door to the metaphysical, and that's why ancient art is so incredibly powerful, because it is a link to the divine. It wasn't meant to be necessarily enjoyed visually, I mean. It was meant to
Yes.
terrify and to inspire and to create a
Yes,
greater reverence
it wasn't
for the
only
invisible.
yes, it wasn't only the expression of one identity, it was the expression of one culture, and it was the expression of religion, so it was the expression of an institution. And
Yes,
nowadays, in marketing, when we talk about art management, heritage management, we talk about hedonistic consumption.
yes,
Because nowadays there is this strange and almost wrong mixture of
yeah,
marketing and art, and so
yeah,
art is perceived as like something like entertaining, not
yes,
anymore. And what I like in this movement, in this even political movement, activism, activists which
yes,
use art to protest, to express their identities, is that art is again the expression of an identity and is
yes.
not a form of entertainment. And the other
No,
day, we were talking about the way outsider can use art to express their identity and take their voice and speak up through art. We were talking about African women, but not only them, because we were speaking about artists as being an outsider. So it's very interesting. And I wanted to ask you about your connection with your environment. If you, because I wanted to ask, where do you feel more at ease? In digital reality or in everyday reality? Because there is these two realities that are like emerging parallel.
yeah. That's very interesting you asked that, Lydia. And by the way, Lydia, you are an amazing hostess to a show. I love you so. I think you are a maverick in the field. I don't think there's enough discussion about the philosophy, history, politics, and religion of art. There isn't. There's so much, everyone's anxious to show their work, and we don't sit back and contemplate. And you do that, Lydia. And I think that your shows are remarkable. I'm glad you're taking think we should go into archives or some kind of repository one day
Thank you.
because nobody's talking about this stuff enough. But okay, well, I got to tell you that the digital. I'm an older person, so I've approached technology with a little bit of fear and trembling compared to younger people. And I've just come into Instagram recently. And for me, it's been an incredible, enlightening experience to go digital. I have been able to communicate and friend artists around the world. And like yourself, Lydia, I never would have met you if it had
Yes, yes, that's true. That's the same
for
for me.
the
I'm meeting
digital.
so many people that I would have never met in real
Never.
life. This is an opportunity that digital give us.
Yes, and not only to meet, but to see other people's artwork that is not in museums and not in major galleries. To see the cutting edge work that is happening around the world. Like Lydia, I see your magnificent work, your
Thank
devotion to
you.
activism and your beautiful
Thank you.
uh, camera work in black and white with the Leica, like I love that camera. And your work with the homeless and the disenfranchised. I never would have known about you had it not been for digital. And the same for all the people that I follow on Instagram now and all the people that follow me. It's beautiful. I see so many magnificent works of art out there, and I can actually thank them for the work. It makes my day to see beautiful work. I get inspired to continue working, and such a privilege to become friends with artists I live in the United States, but to become friends with artists in Italy in Japan, in Australia, in France, in every conceivable country out there, and to tell them that I love their work, and for them to tell me too that they appreciate my work is amazing. So the digital world has been very good to me, and I do love it. I do find that we as artists, and this is just as a side note, Ljdia, but we have to take care of our eyes. We are on the computer too much.
Yes,
And
that's
people really
true.
need to, yeah, people really need to start taking care of their vision because cataracts and other things can happen. And I learned this thing like if you're on a computer for 20 minutes, get off of it for 20 seconds and look at least 20 feet away from you to exercise. I know that sounds old fashioned, but we are on the computer 24 hours a day now.
Yes, it's true that digital gave us a lot of new instruments to connect with other people, but it's true that we spent a lot of time in front of a screen. So, especially for native digital generation, I think that it's going to be even harder to have this exchange with the real reality
Yeah.
because and I think that is very important for me. It was very important. I couldn't have started my work even if I didn't have this strong connection with real reality.
Yeah, well, my painting has so much texture to it. That's a problem with digital. I use a fork and knife as much as I use a paintbrush. And sometimes I like to make thick
Yes,
lines
that's
and
what I noticed about your paintings. There was something incredibly hard on the surface, and I thought this is incredible how she worked with the color. And I wanted to ask you, what did you use for making your paintings? And if you want to show us one of your painting, if you would like to
okay.
share on the screen, or.
Well, I'm
Because
gonna share with you
I
just
see at your back two of your paintings.
yeah. That's my probably my one of the last self-portraits I'll probably make. Um, I use acrylic, and as this is a self-portrait of the artist, and it has my absolute fear of time passing. You can see the influence of Kirchner, who made these sickly greenish faces in his work, which I love. And there is my paintbrushes.
Yes.
And I should have put a fork or knife in there and I didn't. And I'm trying to get to my books. These are the people that has influenced me so much. Paul Gauguin, Baudelaire, that book, Journey to the End of the Night by Selene. Francis Bacon is an incredible artist that I adore. Egon Schiele, and of course the last one, Kirchner. And this is Self-Portrait of the Artist. The books are the foundation of my thinking, my existentialist thinking, and the clock reminds me that time is ticking. I forgot Fugit. I forgot the name for El tiempo se está escapando.
Sí. El
¿Dónde
tiempo
está la salida
escapa.
para este capitán atado por la muerte? ¿Dónde está la salida? But yeah, so I had a lot of when I started painting, it came out as an explosion, and I was lucky. I had a gallery owner named Francisco Chouette, and he still does work, beautiful work with Coca-Cola cans and he's awesome. And he gave me the opportunity to do many one-woman shows, which is very rare for a woman to have a full show to herself, but I did.
Yes,
And
especially in
it was,
painting, yes. Especially in painting, yes.
yes, and that was before digital. And those shows were intimate and full of life and people coming in and wanting to touch your work. And there's an intimacy to live work that is hard to find on digital. Digital is strong, but it can be a little cold to me compared to the warmth and intimacy of live work.
Yes,
So
I
we can
think
move.
the same. I think the same. It's very beautiful when people come to your exhibition, or I do street art. I like to do street art
Yeah.
in daytime. I don't care. Arrest me, I'm here. But I like to do it in daytime because I like to interact with people. Because people stop while I'm working, they ask me what I'm doing, and then I can explain my work. I like this interaction. And you're
Yeah.
right, it's so much warmer than digital. Digital can be very cold sometimes.
Yes, it has incredible potential, and I love digital work. Believe me, I love photography. I love some of the crazy digital animation that I see. I love digital, but I like the thickness of paint. I like still painting, and I like scraping into my canvas like I'm searching for a truth that I could never find.
I must confess that I like to paint with my hands because I like to feel the color. and then,
Yeah.
and yes, it's very
And
beautiful
I
to
don't know if
have
this
this.
happens to you, Lydia, but I grew up with a very eclectic family, especially my father. And I was listening to a lot of music, 60s music, like, Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and The Doors and Bob Dylan. I mean, I was
This is
singing
very
Bob Dylan
beautiful.
songs before I could even talk.
That's very beautiful because it's important for a child to grow up in a artistic friendly environment.
Yes, and the reason why I knew that you and I were going to become inseparable friends is because you highlighted a painting that I made called The Reader, and you put the music of voodoo style to my highlight, and I couldn't believe you did that. It was coincidental because I listen to Jimi Hendrix like crazy when I'm painting. In fact, I wish I could translate his incredible guitar riffs into brush strokes.
And
That
that's
is
very
that's my goal in
interesting.
life.
That's very interesting because, I believe that language, artistic language, are not separated, and one can try to translate one into another's. For example, there
Yes,
are photographers like me who like to share their works, accompanying them with poems. I like when image and text can dialogue. And I like even to translate poems or music, the
yes.
sensation they produce, because we are speaking about an art that produce not entertainment, sensation, emotion. And this emotion, we can always translate them with our own art.
Yes, in fact, I would say that words are extremely powerful. And I come from a world of words and literature first
Yes,
before I was a painter.
because you want to say
So
what you studied, because
I try
people
to
don't
use them
know.
in my work. It's hard for me to use them in my work. I do use them in my work, but they take on a life of their own. They're almost like an image unto themselves. And it's difficult for me, but I see people who incorporate it beautifully. Words like Basquiat incorporated it
Yes.
beautifully into their work.
Yes, I love Basquiat. I love the way he struggled to incorporate all this language together in
Yeah.
in only one work.
Yes, and so yes, words, I think. And I would say that it's unfortunate that sometimes we focus so much just on art, looking at art, studying art. No, art is the language that we use. It's the final expression of what we want to say. It's just a language art, whether it's a painting or a photograph or a sculpture. It's a final, it's a language. You
Yes,
need to I have become a better artist when I open myself up to everything, study everything. My husband taught me this because my husband is an incredible philosophical Renaissance kind of man. He studies everything, philosophy, art, literature, history, and he always used to say to me, "Don't focus so much on the art. Study everything, history, architecture, philosophy, literature,
yes,
spirituality, study everything, and then when you have imbued your soul with
yes.
all of that,
That's what I
then
was saying at the
the art."
beginning. There are no categories. Categories are what we invented, but
Yes.
there are no categories. So art can mix
No.
up with everything. And
It's
it's
better.
the identities that express themselves through art that matters, not if they belongs to one movement, to one time. No, the identity of the artist is the things that attract me. The
Yes,
identity
and I
that I
like the
see in these
psychology.
paintings. Yes, the
I
identity
like the
that I see.
pathos. I
Yes.
like the happiness and the pathos. I like the happiness and pathos in people in general. I don't like casual conversation. I always want to have a deeper conversation with people, which kind of like makes me look a little bit like a mad woman. Like, hey, how are you feeling today? Really, what's going on? But uh,
For me, it's
you know,
true.
I'm,
For
I'm
me, it's
tired
true.
of so much normality, and
It's like with
I
film. It's like with movies. Like with movies. I don't like movies who are just entertainment. I don't like to be entertained. I want my brain to be stimulated with the emotion, with the beautiful image. That's why I love, for example, Tarkovsky, Bergman, because they are not entertainment. But in
no,
some ways,
and
yes,
art was never
but
meant
you
to entertain.
enjoy the movie. You enjoy the movie, but you are not entertained.
Yes, I think that art is a journey. I think that an excellent piece opens up a space for you to enter. When you look at
Yeah.
an artwork, you enter into this metaphysical space, and it doesn't have to be defined. It doesn't have to be anything definite. In fact, it's probably better if it isn't completely definite. It's just this ethereal space where you feel something, you feel human, and you can move in that space and enjoy the work. I try to do that with my art, not make it too defined, not too specific, just leave it open so that you enter it and you do what you want in there. But you will come away feeling more human because we've forgotten the torment of mortality, and we've forgotten sometimes the torment of sexual frustration and the torment of our values and the torment of normality. My God, I'm so sick of normality. I
Oh
can't
yes.
take it anymore.
Normality and politically correct are taboo in my Instagram page. So don't tell to me
Yes,
about normality. What's normal? I don't know. And ask me to be politically correct. The other day, I put on my page a post with a smoker photography and one replied to this image with a symbol no smoke. I told
yeah,
him this is art and I don't
yes,
do politically correct art. So if you don't like the
yeah,
image,
yeah. I live a conventional life. I love depravity in my art, but I don't live a depraved life. I'm not Van Gogh, cutting off my ear, and I'm not Gauguin and taking off to Tahiti and leaving everything behind. I have an
yes.
everyday job and
But it's
everyday
beautiful that we can
responsibilities.
express something through image, even
Yes,
if
through
it,
image.
even if it's not what represent us, even if it's some image that we want to express through photography, through paintings, through music, something that we want to express.
I
And
say be ferocious and be fearless. Be ferocious and fearless in your art.
Yes.
and and you can't go wrong. And resist. Look, I got a T-shirt. Resist. See Wonder Woman.
And I have a
Resist.
T-shirt with an alien.
Yes. Look, resist. Wonder Woman. She resisted. So can you.
And about Wonder Woman, did you ever find a woman's artist woman with who you can connect?
Yes. First of all, with you, Lydia. And
Thank
I
you.
have known for many years a wonderful artist. Her name is Ava Yakino. You can find her. She's a photographer.
Oh,
And yeah, Ava Yakino. And she's done artwork too. And I have to say that I love her work. She's a little more hopeful and positive about the world than I am. But she is remarkable. And in general, I'm finding on Instagram many wonderful artists, female artists that I love. Yes, girl power, absolutely, power to the women. And I don't think it's been a world, it's been a world where the only women you would see in museums were naked women, okay, as photographs, as paintings, as everything. And there was a group called the Gorilla Girls that were around in the 60s, 70s with women. They're still around. And they just were outraged by that only like 10% of the artists in any of the American world-class museums were women. So women are doing their due. I think there's more women now being exhibited in the world than before. I got to tell you, I was so ignorant. When I grew up, the only women I ever heard of in art were the gentle, sweet, motherly women like Mary Cassatt. you know? No, I wanted to be like Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein. That's what I want to be. And, those are the kind of women that I love as artists. I love bold, ferocious women who
yes.
are great. And I love the Gorilla Girls. I
Yes,
love them.
still they are not very well known of female artists. For example, when I arrived in Milan, I found
Yes.
out about all these artistic women who belong to the artistic movement of the 70s here in Italy. And I
Yes.
studied only the man part of this movement.
Yes.
I didn't
Yes.
even knew that there was all these half parts of the 70s artistic movements. And when I
Oh,
saw this
yeah.
exhibition in Milan, I was like this.
I
What?
know. It's unbelievable. I have a poster. Can I get a poster quickly, just for one
Yes,
second?
yes.
Okay, hold on one second. I'll be right back.
Okay. And by the way, for all of you who are listening, if you have any question, you can pause it, you can ask using the question mark button in the below part of the screen. And this is it. Oh my.
Okay, so this is a recreation of a poster. My husband made it for me for my birthday. Oh, for Christmas. Do women have to be naked to get into the Met Museum?
Fantastic.
And this was done by the Gorilla Girls. And as you can see, less than 5% of the artists in the modern art sections are women, but 85% of the nudes are female. So I keep this next to me to remind me that we have to be ferocious. We have to be powerful in our art and fearless. You have nothing
Yes,
to lose, nothing to lose, and
absolutely.
everything to gain.
Absolutely. Yes.
Be a fire, be a fire. Even if you fail, at least you fail burning rather than, smoking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love this. I love your attitude. I really love your attitude towards life, toward arts.
Yes, because Lydia, life is so conventional. Life requires that you sedate yourself so much for our 9 to 5 jobs, for all the obligations of life, for paying the bills. So there's very few areas in your life that you can feel completely free.
And art
I
is the
think,
one way to
yes.
feel free.
And people want to travel with you. That's the people want to go on this journey.
Yes.
People do. They want to travel.
Yes, that's the next
Make,
step. That's the next step I was thinking
yes.
about. You must be free. First of all, you must free yourself. Then you can share your heart, the
Yeah,
artwork that you do, and you can take on other people on your journey.
that's right. And it is a journey, and you take people on it. And you know what? You take them secretly. You don't tell them what they're going to see. You just like open it up and let them explore this inner sanctuary of feelings and emotions and beauty and art and shock and awe. I try to do that in my work. And, sometimes it fails and sometimes it's a home run.
Yes, I think yes, it's very interesting. It's very interesting the way art can interact with other people. And so, what are your next future project?
Well, I started exploring inks, India inks, and I'm making these figures with India ink. And of course, they still involve, you know, I will forever grapple with the issue of death. I just will forever. It's something that I can't give up on. And all my own personal perversions and my feelings on things. So I'm making, like, right now, I'm working on some images that have
Yes,
still definite.
I think that
And
is beautiful because that is part of life. Is another, it's another
yeah, that's
side
a
of
whole other
life.
hog. So, I'm working on a whole series. I'm gonna play with India inks for a while. And yeah, just keep going. Keep on keeping on. Keep on trucking. Keep on going. And I wish art was separate from the galleries and the whole world. It's just art, the most powerful art that
Yes,
I
me
can
too.
think
Me
of.
too. Especially because while I was telling you that nowadays art is perceived like marketing, like
It's
a product.
marketing and it's
Art
home
is like a
decoration.
product. Artist is like a factory. A factory, but
Yeah.
not in the Andy Warhol way of perceiving a factory. It's like artists must produce and produce and produce to sell in the
Yeah.
market. And then where is the identity? Where does it go, the identity of the artist? Because many times it's not even demanded to the artist to be true to its own identity, but only to be.
Yes, I think that art has lost its spirituality. Art was never meant to be art. It was a connection to the invisible. Art has always been a connection to the invisible. And it doesn't even require words. It's just this feeling that you're going into, like, a different space, like a sacred space. And when art is simply considered a commodity to be put in the living room, things like that, then it loses its sacred power. Art was never meant in ancient cultures. They didn't just do art for art's sake. It was a link, a communication with the metaphysical, it was the language used to reach invisible forces that people felt were guiding their lives. That's why I still stick to that's why I like to stick to the biggest topics that I can think of in life, which is mortality and sexuality, and for me also depression and insanity, because I think that these are the skeletal trappings of existence. I don't want to paint anything frivolous. I want my, I don't have time for it, and I'm not good at it, to tell you the truth. It'll always show some of my psychosis. But art is a link to the metaphysical, and it has great power, great power.
Yes,
So I like art that is very deep.
yes,
It doesn't even have to be specific. It can be nebulous. It doesn't have to define anything. It just has to be coming from an inner creative space that has connection to, I think, the creativity of the universe.
yes. I think that in a world where people spend most of the time in front of a screen, art should be an instrument, can be a powerful instrument to even wake up people. And that's why I love more art, which is not a comfort, which is not trying to comfort people, but to shake them up a little bit. There are
Yes,
many forms of contemporary art, like even performance. I love performance because they are a way to interact with people, but even to use nonsense to discomfort them, to create
yeah,
a disturbing feeling, to shake them up, to wake them up, and then to let them absorb the message that you want to convey. Because in our world, where, like I was saying, people are like half. They spend all the time in front of the screen, and they don't take they don't look anymore at what they are, at what they have in front of them. You must first of all shake them up, wake them up, and then you can convey
yes. I,
something.
I I love the idea. Picasso's idea for art is that he was the great destroyer. I love that. I go into my work like that. I'm ready to destroy the universe when I work. I'm ready to cut it up into pieces and reconfigure it so that you see something more. So that we can, we're so blinded by everyday preoccupations in life, and to see something behind this life is crucial for our sense of psychology and spirituality and philosophy. Um, art is art is a metaphysical activity for artists, and it allows us a glimpse into the invisible.
Yes, yes, I couldn't be more. I could. Yes, I totally agree. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and if I for better for better for worse, sometimes for worse, but I put my entire psychology and my entire soul into the artwork that I make. I really do. And of course, I fear absolute failure. And when something doesn't work out for me, I'm in incredible depression and angst. But we persevere because we are artists, and there's no other way to express ourselves except through the language of art. And
Yes, and I
remember,
love
art,
your work for this reason because I saw a lot of you in these artworks, and that's a very important things for me to see an identity, to see a person in front of me, to see something powerful through the image that expressed through the image.
Lydia, I didn't have myself for many years. I had a lot of psychological issues to work out. And I really I found myself a lot through the love of my husband and my son and good friends. But I really found the core of myself by doing art. Art was something that was the most incredible journey I ever could have taken in my life. And I've traveled the world a lot, but I've never experienced the kind of revelations that I've had in picking up a paintbrush and trying to describe the depths of my soul.
I think that that's something that everyone should do. even if it's not through painting, to find some instrument of expression and try to look deep down into themselves and express what they see through the instrument they choose. It could be music, it could be singing,
Oh, yes,
it could be dancing, it could be painting,
yes.
it could be
And I
writing,
find
it could be writing even.
exactly, and I find that the creativity that you have in you
Yes,
is parallel, it's a fundamental part of the creativity in the universe. I really honestly feel there's a creative energy in the universe. It's undefined for me. I'm not Catholic, I'm not Christian. I don't have a preconceived religion anymore, but I do believe in a metaphysical existence of some kind, and I know that it's connected to the power of art. And I guess if I have to worship or if I have to pay homage to the creative energy, I can't think of a better way than any art, music, painting, literature, words, all of it.
yes.
And I see the divine energy seeing itself reflected that way. Maybe the divineness of this world urges itself to see itself like we do. Like us artists want to see ourselves in our work.
And that's what I love about artists, because in a world of
Yes,
living dead, because let me tell you this, in a world of living dead, because many people spend most of their life being a living dead, artists at
yes,
least
living there.
are trying to give birth to themselves, and that's the most creatively act that I can think about, to give birth to ourselves. That's a very important
Yes,
thing.
to give birth to ourselves because the way we are born is not enough. It's
Yes.
not enough, especially for women. It's not enough to be the partner of somebody. It's not even enough to have children. It's not enough to have a career of our choice. There's something in us that requires more. It requires um, a metamorphosis. We almost have to
Yes.
struggle with ourselves and come out from this metamorphosis as creative beings. And that creativity, I think, is linked to the creative energy in the universe. And at one time in my life, this exceptional metaphysical feeling that what I was doing was linked to the colors and the movement of the universe. And it stunned me. It stunned me. And I got up from my painting, walking. I went outside to clear my head. I was mesmerized by the power of the universe and feeling that my little insignificant paintbrush and hand movement was in synchronicity with that energy. And you know how, like an atom, it's just like this tiny little minuscule thing, and if you open it, it explodes the world. It was sort of like that. I felt one with the universe through
Yes.
art. I've never felt one with the universe
And I
through
think that
prescribed religion. Through
yes, that's the
religion.
very advantage of one artist, to be outside and at the same time to be more connected to the world and other people. And that's
Yes.
what I like. Yes, I like in the creative process.
The creative process is a healing process for anybody out there that has had psychological issues like I have. And I think artists are extremely sensitive people. We're easy to damage. We're easy to suffer. And I think art, it has been for me the most incredible healing process I ever could have had the grace of experiencing. And in addition to the love of people in my life, because love too is a healing process. And I have been very fortunate to have a loving partner for like 29 years. And
Yes, that's very important. That's very important because you have to have someone around you that can be a partner, that can be a friend, who shares something with you. It's very important. That's why one of the questions was about your environment. How did they react? And you just told me that you have someone around you
Yeah.
because it's
Well, nobody
important.
knew I was an artist. I mean, it was weird because I suffered lifelong depression, Lydia, and people out there, I have had depression ever since I was a child. I mean, I've had a few childhood traumas that might have led to it, but overall, I was a depressive. And my partner in life really helped save me. He understood my depression and you know tried to help me to grow and was not afraid of my moods and my crying and everything, which is remarkable for a partner not to be intimidated by that. And through that and the power of art, I have been able to say that I rarely feel depressed anymore. I have problems in life, like everyone, but
Yes.
depression, a lot of it is this free floating cloud that just would take over me because I didn't have myself.
Yes.
I didn't have myself. And I think now I have myself more than ever. And subsequently, I used to be obsessed about making self portraits. If you go to my website, almost every portrait there is a portrait of me. And people might think that's an obsession with yourself, like that you're vain. But I wasn't vain.
No.
I was simply trying to find myself.
That's the
And now
same
that I have,
process that Francesca Woodman went through. And it's beautiful that you found yourself because many artists
yes,
spend their whole life trying to find themselves and they didn't even find this person, this
yes, it's still
themselves
a
they were.
journey. Life is a journey of learning. There's still hardships. And like I said, I have a precarious state of mind that can easily go south. I have a precarious state of mind that can easily turn to a little bit of craziness. That's just part of being an artist.
I think
But
that
my family,
everyone has a fragility, and I think that, like you said, it's very important that you found someone who embraced this fragility.
yeah, who was not afraid, he
Yes,
was very
that's
brave
very
then.
healing. Heart and love to
Yeah.
find someone that embrace your fragility is very, very, very nice. It's very, very.
Yeah. So he saved me, and then being with a wonderful therapist who understood that I was an artist waiting to come out. Art can begin at any age. In fact, I almost think it's better when you're older because you can add more life experience, more philosophy to it, than younger people. But it's great to be an artist at any age. But it's
Yes,
really beautiful for me to have become an artist before the end of my days. I can't think of a higher honor to existence than to be an artist.
and that's very beautiful.
Yeah, it makes life beautiful. Life has incredible sorrows, incredible ugliness, and incredible sorrows.
Yeah.
And we mitigate it with creativity in all its different forms: music, dance, theater, art. But I would recommend to anybody out there who's suffering, and I'm sure you are, because life, you can't get through this life without some amount of suffering. I would recommend art, even art that has nothing to do with artistic materials. Like, I mean, just find something that makes the world
Yes,
more
I
beautiful.
think that art is a powerful instrument to pose a question about ourselves or to pose question about reality that surrounds us. Even if you are okay with yourself, but you are not okay with the world that surrounds you, you can use art to express your anger because I started
Oh,
my works from anger. Anger can be a very positive
okay.
feeling.
I'm glad we're talking about this, Lydia, because I've never been really a political artist. I've always been more of a existentialist psychological artist. But when we were taken by Trump, for these last 4 years have been horrible here, really a
Yeah, I
nightmare.
know.
and it couldn't help but turn everybody into a political artist, even if they didn't want to be.
Certainly, I
And
love
I
it.
mean, yeah, and I was making things like, I mean, I want to show you like this postcard was
Fantastic.
about abortion. It's the
Fantastic
Trump
way to
gag
recreate.
rule.
Yes.
Yeah, it was meant to target abortion because, he was attacking all the abortion clinics in Africa and Asia and the Middle East. And he created this global gag rule, gag, which is like close your mouth thing, where, if they even advertised abortion to women in these clinics, all the funding would be taken away for contraceptives, HIV prevention, treatment of AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, Zika. Everything was taken away if you even talked about abortion. So that was the global
Yes,
gag rule. I made this.
I've seen in the news that it's still going around. This campaigning against abortion. That is
These men are so
incredible.
afraid of the power of the female. Then I made like this like I wanted to show you like this was a Trump dollar because Trump
I love
was
it.
was
I love it
yeah
because that's one way we can use art to express our feelings to our society, to our
yes,
sociocultural political system that surround us. So we can use
yes,
art to look in ourselves, but even to question our reality,
absolutely, to
the
question the
outside.
world, to look in ourselves. Photography is an excellent medium for that, Lydia.
And to influence
If
people
you do
also.
that every day with your depiction of the homeless and the marginalized people of the world, you are constantly showing us what we would rather forget, what we sometimes would rather forget because the reality is too harsh to sit with every minute.
Yes,
So yes,
yes, it's one way to use art. So art is a
yeah,
very powerful instrument, and that's why I wanted to have a live to talk about art with the people with whom I felt that I shared a lot of things. This love for art, this love to look inside yourself, and at the same time, the love for the others, the other.
justice too, for the ideals, for the things that we cherish, like justice and compassion and love and salvation from from mental illness. I mean, I can't stress enough how art is has been the best medicine in my life. That and love. Art and love have saved me from. I don't even want to go into it because I really have had some very dark moments in my life.
Yes,
Yes.
unfortunately, I think we all have.
Yes, we have. Art is it is one of the most beautiful things that humans have for tolerating ugliness and the cruelty of the world. I think without art, we are nothing. Without art, we are nothing. And it doesn't even matter the recognized artist or artist in the gallery. No, art is the philosophy that you travel your life with. Art is the things you are willing to look at within yourself. You are the universe. You are the universe. And the more you look deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself, the more you are exploring the universe. You're
Yes,
exploring the stars and the planet, and you're exploring the cosmos
and
by
I
looking
love
deep
to
within yourself.
explore even other universe. When I encounter other artists, I love to look at their universe. That's why I love to visit cities like Marseille or Paris, were deeply immersed in street art. They were full of street art. And this
Yes.
war was amazing because it was like being surrounded by all these identities. When I walked through the street, it was like being surrounded by all these universes different,
Yeah.
each
And I
one
think,
different from oneself.
yes, I think that every person is a universe. I think that when we make art, we are allowing the divine power to see itself reflected. It sees, I honestly believe there's some kind of maybe cosmic connection between art and the divine energy that wants to see itself realized in some manner. And being human is not enough. Being human is almost, I hate to say it, but from what I see of human beings, it's almost a disappointment.
Yes.
It's
I made a
some,
post that says human beings fail, it's okay.
I hate to say it, but I've read a lot of philosophers that consider humans to be loathsome creatures. Creatures with no right to this world. So, what elevates me from a basic human is the art. I
Yes.
feel like a better person. I feel like a deeper person.
Yes, I
And
think that it's very important. This connection, the one things that we talked about at the beginning of the life, this word connection, to be connected to ourselves and with the rest of the world, is very important for being a human being in
yes,
the sense that we mean, the sense that
I
we mean it.
feel right because I feel, Lydia, that just living feels to me like a I don't know, like bacteria, like a microscopic bacteria just being alive. That's not enough,
And talking about
But
connection, did you ever think about creating some group or women artists to connect with them in reality, in your environment, to make some exhibition, to find some place together and make an exhibition?
I would love to exhibit my work. Right now, this summer, I'm creating a lot of new work. I this COVID had us all in lockdown, and
Yes,
I
I know.
let go of art for a few years. When my father passed away, my incredible love and identity went with him, to the grave, and I couldn't do art. It was very painful for me. And I let go of art for a little bit of time. But I met, I still love my father dearly, but I have so much other love in my life, my husband and my son, and my friends, and my new friends, and my Instagram artists, and we're all in this together. I feel we're all in this together. We all are trying to
Yes,
say something about the world.
yes,
And
that's
God bless the
good.
artists of the world. God bless the artists of the world because I really honestly think that we are the chosen people of the universe. There's some universal cosmic connection between us and the
One thing
divine
I'm sure
essence.
that we are in a connection, and I hope to connect with other people and grew up of number to connect with many people.
Yes, yes, and connect with the forces of life, the invisible aspect of life, Lydia. The invisibility of happiness, of joy, of sorrow, of craziness, all that wonderful ingredients that
Yes, and
gives
art can
drama.
be a very interesting channel to see all these aspects of life.
Art is life, life is love, love is art and life. It's all connected. Life,
Art
love,
is
and
one way of living. Yes, I think that what Yoko Ono said that she thought that art was a verb. It's a very strong way of perceiving art, of a
yes.
way
Yes.
of living.
All right, Lydia.
So
That's a good discussion.
yes, and if we will have a time in future, I would like to share your opinion and experience because we talk about identities, outsider identities, and in our conversation before this live, we pointed out that there are many people in United States who are considered outsider, especially Black women, who are
Yeah.
using art to express their identities. So I would like to share your opinion about not only Afro-American women, but also about maybe even Latin American women, if you know them, if you know some of them, and the way they express their identities in the United States in a cultural way.
Okay,
So
that's for a future conversation.
that's for a future
You know,
conversation.
Lydia, I just want to say that I've always felt closer to your European artists for some reason. I don't know if it's because I sometimes come across as too crazy or too intense for American artists. I don't know, but or maybe because I've always latched on to the German expressionists and have always felt an intensity with that kind of work. But Instagram has allowed me to really see the work of artists around the world and how incredible everyone is working so hard and making such beautiful work, and it inspires me to keep going too.
Yes, that's
So
true. Yes, that's true. That's inspiring to see all these world of
yes.
artists that we create.
And Lydia, thank you for hosting these kinds of shows.
Thank
There's
you.
nothing that
Thank
an artist
you
likes
for
more than
taking
doing
part.
this.
Thank you for taking part. Let's think about some future conversation about these identities. And for the one who followed us in this conversation, remember to follow Celine page. There is even a website to see her future project and stay in touch because this is not the end. And this Sunday, we are going to have a new live with the photographers. And this can be interesting for you too because they created this unique style using colors on photos, and
I
these
love
are
that.
they are very interesting. They're very interesting. So I'm going to send their Instagram profile to let's see you how they create this unique style of portraits, photography portraits, and so
Awesome.
next date Sunday, and us we stay in touch, and let's hope to organize some
Always.
new live. Let's
Thank you,
hope
Lydia.
to.
This has been wonderful. And I hope that it has provided artists out there a sense of hope. If you have any kind of mental cross to bear, and I have them all, believe me. If you have any mental cross to bear, I hope that you seek out art as your salvation and know that other people understand the mental illnesses that are out there. I do, I certainly do. And also keep up the art because for me, art has a cosmic significance.
Yes,
Art is
absolutely.
where we are closest. Art and compassion and mercy is where we are closest to the divine. I really think that. And there's nothing more. I think the creative energy wants to see us. It sees itself reflected in us. It sees itself reflected in all our struggles in art and maybe our struggles in life too. But art is life. There is no separation. Art
Yes,
is life.
I totally agree, and I think that all of the people who followed us agree too, because otherwise they wouldn't have connect to a heart live.
Yes. All
So
right. Power to the
thank you
artist.
so much. Thank you, Virgilio Boy Dog. Thank you, my purple. Thank you all to
Thank you,
taking
everybody.
part this live. If you have any question for Celine, you can even ask after the live. You can leave in the comment to the video. And like always, the video will be available on the Instagram channel and on YouTube channel.
Okay. Love to
A
everybody out
kiss.
there. Love and creativity to everybody.
See you soon. See you soon the next time. And we stay in touch.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Bye.